Today let's divide whole numbers by unit fractions. Below are diagrams that show strips of different colored paper. Each strip is 2 feet long. The paper strip will be cut into different sized pieces. So I see words, so I need to highlight. Each strip is 2 feet long. On number 1, it says the red strip will be cut into pieces that are a ½ foot long. So what word in there tells me to do something? Well, each tells me to do something. So I need to figure out what it's given me if I'm multiplying or dividing. So our 2 foot long, that's going to be our total. Into pieces that are a ½ foot long, that's my in each. So I do not know my groups. So if they've given me a total, I know that I'm dividing. So remember, total comes first. So we have 2 divided by a half. So we are dividing with fractions. So we have to have 2 fractions. So that means I need to put a 1 underneath my 2, change to multiplication, and flip the second fraction. Now I can multiply. 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. So that gives me 4 groups for number 1. My second one, the green strip will be cut into pieces that are 1/3 foot long. How many pieces will there be? So I still know that I have 2 as my total, and 1/3 would be my new in each. So I still do not know my groups. So we have total, so we're dividing, divided by 1/3. So we're still dividing by fractions. So stick the 1 underneath your 2, change to multiplication, and flip the second fraction. 2 times 3, 6. 1 times 1 is 1. So that gives me 6 groups for number 2. Number 3, the orange strip will be cut into pieces that are 1/4 foot long. How many pieces will there be? Well, we still have 2 total for my group, or for my total. 1/4 is going to be my in each. We still do not know our groups. So we've been given a total, so we know we're still dividing. 2 divided by 1/4. Put your 1 under the 2. Change to multiplication. Flip the second fraction. 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 1 is 1. That gives me 8 groups for number 3. So describe what was the same about the problems you solved. Describe what was different. Well, all the problems were about a piece of paper that was 2 feet long. For each problem, I was cutting the 2 feet into smaller pieces. The size of the pieces got smaller each time, so there were more pieces. So on this first one, each piece was a ½ foot long, and we had 4 pieces. On the second one, each piece was 1/3 long, and we had 6 pieces. On the third, each was a 1/4 foot long, and we had 8 pieces. So we are ending up with more pieces each time. Okay, let's look at this one. Kyron has a yellow strip of paper that is 2 feet long. He wants to cut the strip into 1/6 foot pieces. How many pieces will Kyron have? So what word in here tells me to do something? Cut. Cut means to split or divide. So the paper is 2 feet long. It's into 1/6 foot pieces. So 2 is my total again. 1/6 is my in each. So I do not know my groups again. So since it says cut, we know we're dividing. So we have total divided by in each. So we need a 1 underneath my whole. Change to multiplication and flip the second fraction. 2 times 6 is 12. 1 times 1 is 1. So that gives me 12 whole groups. So number 3 says, how would the number of pieces change if Kyron had a strip of paper that is 3 feet long? So instead of the 2 being our total, the 3 is now going to be our total. So we would say 3 divided by, leave the 1/6. You need a 1 under your 3. Change to multiplication and flip the second fraction. 3 times 6 is 18. 1 times 1 is 1. So that would give me 18 groups. So what has changed? Well, we have more groups when we made our total bigger. So it says, describe how this equation represents a strip of paper that's 3 feet long being cut into equal size pieces. Well, because our 3 was our total, they are cutting it into pieces that are 1/6 each, so that's our in each. And our 18 would be how many groups he would have. So today we saw problems about cutting strips of paper into small pieces. We wrote equations to represent dividing a whole number by a unit fraction. So let's look at our equations here. 2 divided by 1/2 equals 4. So the way they found that, of course, is to put a 1 underneath your 2, change to multiplication, flip the second fraction. That gives you 4/1. That's 4 wholes. Our second, put a 1 under the 2, change to multiplication, flip the second fraction. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. That gives them the 6 wholes. Next, 2/1, change to multiplication, flip the second fraction. That gives 8/1, which is 8 wholes. The last one, 2/1, change to multiplication, flip the second fraction, gives you 12/1, which is 12 wholes. So why is the quotient, which is the answer to the division, getting larger in each equation? Well, that's because our in each is getting smaller each time. So remember, when we are eating one piece in all of these fractions, then we're looking at the bottom number, which is our denominator. That tells us how many total pieces are in the cake or how many people we're getting to share with. So on the first party, we have a 1/2. And the second party, we have 1/3. So there's got to be more groups or more pieces there because we have more people that we're having to share with at that party. So that's why our quotient is getting bigger. We're having to have more groups or more pieces because we're having to share with more people. Okay, so let's look at our problem here. We have 3 is our total. 1/6 is our in each. And we have 18 groups. How did they find the 18? Well, we have 3. That needs a 1 underneath it. Change to multiplication, flip the second fraction. That gives us 18/1, which is 18 wholes.